What's up, everybody? This is Devon, Dreamy Kong McVitie, coming at you live here on the Shoots and Blabber podcast. Once again, I just want to say thank you to everybody who is showing their support. We are totally seeing it, and we are appreciating it. Today, I have a special guest, Dom Triveline. He's probably going to kick my ass over that one. But I'm super stoked to talk to him. He's going to go over his amateur status as a bodybuilder and what it takes to go into it. I also want to reach out and say thank you to my sponsors right now, and that is Hearth Wood and Fire Pizza Truck. This is a brand new company coming out to you guys. The pizza is outrageous. They can pull up at your live events and provide you all sorts of things that can make the month of September outrageous. And also, I want to give it out to David Verbecky. Dave is starting a small company right now, going over financial support for you, giving you the opportunities that you're looking for. If you have any questions or you want to be prepared to grow that income that you have, please reach out to Dave Verbecky. On that, let's get it started here on the Shoots and Blabber podcast.
You're listening to the Shoots and Blabber podcast, where we shoot the shit and blabber on. With your host, Devon Dreamy Kong McVitie.
What's up, Dom?
Hey, man, how's it going?
I told you I was going to butcher that name, dude. I don't know what it is. I can never get names, like last names, when they're like Italian. I can never get them correct.
Dude, honestly, no one has ever got it right on the first try, ever.
I could sit there and look at it for like nonstop about like how we need to say it and properly, enunciate every little word in it. Still can never just get it right.
No, no one ever gets it, man. That's all right.
If I had $1 for every time somebody would either call me Devon or butcher the last name on mine, it'd be just outrageous. But I'm glad to have you here, bud. I've been talking to different people and trying to get different, something different onto the podcast. A lot of people know me for the nerdy work that I've done and, going into comics and all sorts of different things. But I wanted to start hitting out some different areas of the world. There's a lot of different passions that people have. And I've been lucky enough to talk to a previous world champion bodybuilder. And for me, I kind of wanted to take it back and see what it's like for those people who are, I don't want to say just starting off, because I know you've been doing this for a little while, but those who are more at the amateur status, working on getting their pro card as yourself. So the first question I really have is, how did you get started becoming a bodybuilder?
So this is an awesome story. I love telling this story. A few twists with this. I was 15 years old. I was a sophomore in high school. Anyone that kind of knew me in high school would be like, I was the last person to enter a weight room, man. Like, not that kind of person at all. I was getting in a lot of trouble at the time with like drugs and alcohol, and pretty much was near expelled from school. And one day I was sitting in a Saturday detention in the library. The lady's like, you need to go find a book to read. And I don't read books, at that age. I do now, ironically. I enjoy reading books, but then I didn't. And I just go to the sports section because that's probably the only thing I'd be interested in reading at the time. And I find this really old, dusty book called Weightlifting and Bodybuilding. And it was written by Franco Colombo in 1987. I don't think that book's been open since 1987. You opened it and it just smelled old, like it's just a dusty ass book. But I remember reading through it, man, and I'm looking at this dude and I'm like, man, that's disgusting. This dude's huge. This is gross looking. And I was like put off, but also intrigued. And there's a full workout program in the book. And we had a full weight set in my basement at home. And I was like, maybe I'll give this a try. I'm kind of tired of the path that I'm going down. Like, I had like a 1.6 GPA in high school at this point. I near expelled. I really didn't give a shit about anything. And I was like, all right, maybe this can kind of get me out of the hole I was going through. And I started the workout program a couple months before my 16th birthday. And I was hooked, never stopped. And never, when I first got into it and I started working out, I liked it. And my goal was to have like beach body abs, nice arms, nice chest, nothing near what is aspired today, like at all. Like the men's physique look is what I wanted to achieve. After 3 months of working out, or 4 months of working out, I remember my friend took a picture of me by the pool, like with our friend group, and that's what I looked like already. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just eating everything in sight, and I was working out in my basement 4 days a week. And I really transformed my body quickly. A lot of people at school were asking questions like, what are you taking? What are you doing? I'm like, dude, I just work out in my basement after school for like 3 hours straight. At the time, I didn't realize what kind of hole it was digging me out of and saving my life in a way. But I started lifting in my basement, man. And I did that for about a year. And I finally got a gym membership. This really cool gym in Chelsea, Michigan, where I grew up, that's no longer there, called Westside Gym. And this dude's like, you should do a bodybuilding show. He thought I was like 25 at the time. I'm 17 at this point. He's like, you're huge, man. I'm like, maybe. And then I started watching more bodybuilding videos on YouTube. I'm like, all right, maybe there's a state championship bodybuilding show. Like, I want to be a state champion. Like, I want to be the best in the state. And I set out to do that, and I won the teen state championship, and I entered a men's class and won that too at 17. Absolutely no idea what I was doing. I prepped for that show on just like, I Googled a lot of things. I researched a lot of things. I just worked out and ate like a bodybuilder and showed up on stage, and I did well. I had no idea what I was doing. I do remember like we had mirrors in the basement in the weight room, and I'd always bring my laptop downstairs and I'd watch the Mr. Olympia callouts, and I taught myself how to pose because I don't have money to pay for a posing coach, pay for a trainer, any of this. Like, I'm going off of a whim, man. Like, I'm reading bodybuilding.com articles and shit. And I would just practice what they were doing in the mirror and taught myself how to pose and won my very first show. And the rest is history from there.
Now, I totally understand what you're coming from. Like, you were that, like, if your Instagram shows anything, we were about the same size your sophomore year. And, coming out of high school, I think it was $140. And anybody who knew me back in high school, it looked like I needed social worker help. Like, my parents weren't feeding me enough, but that wasn't the case. Like, I was so skinny, it was ridiculous. And, when you say that bodybuilder, they're that body type for the beach body, I used to laugh because I'd watch Never Back Down and see the one guy who was the bad guy. And it'd be like, oh, I want that dude's body. Like, that's exactly what I want. And now I'm like at that point where I'm weighing a little overly the amount that I want to. And I'm like, okay, I wish I could go back to that guy's body because I'm a little overweight with that. But for those out there listening, I do want to bring up here. This is from your Instagram. So this is actually what Dom looks like currently.
That's actually about that was before COVID.
So pre-COVID. So, yeah. Dom, you're 25 now, correct?
Yeah, I just turned 25 in January.
Yeah. So the way I met Dom was actually worked out at my buddy's gym. He worked for my buddy as well. Dom is also a personal trainer as well. Does a lot of online training for people, creates these programs to show off what is the ability that people can get to. So, growing up, did you really think that you would ever get to this point, like that you're currently at?
No, never crossed my mind, man. When I stepped foot in the gym for the first time, I was 120 pounds. Um, and I have a picture of that too on my Instagram. You can kind of just tell by looking at me, like I had chest development, I had abs and shoulders, and knew nothing about lifting. Like genetically had the structure, but didn't know, So as soon as I touched a weight, it was like
this 10-year challenge you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, that's me at like 14 years old. I don't ever work out. I've never worked out. I have abs. You can see the outline of my chest. I mean, it just genetically was there.
Right.
I didn't know. And when for the first 6 months of lifting weights, just eating and training, I went from like 120 to 160. I mean, it happened quick, and that was very rewarding. So of course you're hooked because I'm seeing results like by the fucking day, man. Like every time I go in the gym, I'm stronger than I was yesterday. It was unreal, the transformation.
So just to kind of prove a point on this, was me back, I think like a year after I graduated high school.
Yeah.
Or so, as you could tell. And this was me in March 3rd of 2020. So just before COVID started. Now, that body, my wife will always say she loves the way I look no matter what. But unfortunately, that is not the body I'm getting anymore. It's a little bit more softer and a little bit more weight put on that. But, when it comes to current mindset because of COVID and a lot of people sitting at home, what is something that you would have to say, like, you need to, like, that keeps you going essentially instead of getting lazy about it and sitting back?
You can never be a victim to your circumstances, your situations. You always got to dig out the best. Like you got to find the best way. You got to be creative. I mean, I know so many people who couldn't go to it. I was fortunate enough during COVID to have gym access. Very grateful for that. I would have moved out of state had I not, which I actually ended up doing. But I know a lot of people during COVID, like they found ways to make it work. I mean, they didn't just say, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to sit here at home. You can't be victim to circumstances that are not in your control. To sit there and say, this happened, so now I can't do this. You got to find a way. Always find a way to get stuff done.
Now, on a rough day-to-day basis, like how many, I've always heard about different calorie intakes, right? For a bodybuilder, their calorie intakes are a lot higher because they're burning off a lot more fuel.
Right.
So what is your daily intake? And then also what is your intake come around showtime?
So I just had a diet update yesterday. I'm eating 5 meals a day, and I'm right about 5,000 calories. Damn. For those of you guys that don't know, I'm 5'5". I'm in like low 250s right now. It's a lot because I don't do any protein shakes. Like I only eat solid food, so it's a lot of chewing. It's a lot of food to get down. But when you're a certain size, you're hungry. Your body requires fuel, like around the clock to maintain this. Like I know when I decide not to do this anymore, and I go back to eating like a normal 2 to 3 times a day, it's going to come off quick.
Yeah,
it will come off quick. But to maintain this level of size, I mean, it's hard, but it's not that hard because your body's craving it, man. Your body needs fuel to be this big and to work out at the level that these guys do.
Now with that, with you being at 5,000, do you maintain that 5,000 through showtime as well, or is it do you lessen
it goes down quite a bit, man. I mean, it gets pretty brutal. I wouldn't be surprised, like the last 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, I even dip under like 3,000.
Okay, and then I know that water intake goes up, right, for it?
I drink 6 liters of water every day. I don't normally manipulate water until the very, very last couple days if needed. I'm someone that has to very much restrict water, like the day or two before the show. I'm very water. I retain a lot of water, just the way my body is. But yeah, calories get low, cardio gets high. The whole move more, eat less. If I could sum it up very simply.
So with that being said, I have another one here from this is on November 18th of 2021 is when you posted this one.
Yeah.
So around this time, you're drinking, you're getting everything. It's dehydrating. You're dehydrating your body.
Right.
So for the listeners out there, what is it like? What is the everything that goes into showtime, like dehydration, all that stuff? Can you kind of go into that a little bit more for me?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that's very person dependent. So what I do, someone could be doing the complete opposite and have the same result. I very much this is the last show I did in September at North Americans, and I'm trying to think. Usually at about 12 days out, I very heavily start to monitor everything. Sodium, water, no condiments. So I'm literally just using salt, measure the salt so it's the same on every meal. I don't restrict it. Sodium's important, but it's measured every meal now. It's consistent. The water is the exact same. There's no condiments, artificial sweeteners, all that stuff gets cut out. And the last 3 days, usually start to manipulate water. I think the day of the show, I didn't drink any water till after the show was over. But at the same time, I'm having to eat to kind of like fill out my body because my body's so what bodybuilders call flat. Like your muscles don't have a round popping look from being so depleted from prep. So I'm trying to eat a lot of food, and I'm usually consuming like 4 ounces of water in between meals, like the day before, max. So like 16 ounces in a day.
Okay.
And as far as what that feels like physically, pure exhaustion.
I can understand that. See, for me, as a normal human being, I drink maybe about 16 ounces a day anyway, because mostly sucking down, cherry Coke Zeros. And, we don't deal with flat, we deal with flab. And it's a lot more, fat and retaining that fat and water with it. But, with the exhaustion and everything, I know people are taking different things to reach the body point that they want to get at. I know you're still growing, and I know that you're still reaching the peaks that you're trying to get to because you haven't gotten to that point yet. We've had conversations in the past about some of the things. What are judges saying currently and why you're not reaching those next steps, unfortunately?
So a lot of people, if you've paid attention to my last showing, was North Americans, where I placed third. And in order to turn pro, you have to win. This was a very hard day for me and for a lot of people who came out to support because I was in the first call out of bodybuilders for my class, and I was dead center the entire time. I wasn't moved, which basically means that I'm in first place. I'm going to win. And it's always meant that in bodybuilding. It's not something that's randomly changed. I walked off stage. I looked at pictures, and I mean this in like the least cocky way possible, because that's not who I am. But I'm pretty sure I knew I won at that point. And about a few hundred other people were messaging me that were at the event saying congratulations. And come back to the night show, and they rejudged, which is very rare that ever happens. I was unfortunately moved to third. Spoke to the judges, asked for explanation, and they didn't really have a whole lot to say. I asked, like, what could I bring up? And I had a judge tell me, like, my biceps a little more, but shows aren't lost on arm size.
Right.
So I don't want to say like there's nothing for me to improve, because there's always, as a bodybuilder, you're never perfect. You're always improving.
Correct. Yeah.
I was in shape, by far best in shape in the class. I was symmetrical. I don't have any body parts that are like way bigger than the other. Like I'm proportional, and size wasn't an issue either. So I think it's just more of paying my dues. I've done 2 pro qualifiers. I did one when I was 22. I did the NPC Nationals in Miami. I placed 4th, and top 2 turned pro there. So I was actually very happy with that. I did not expect to place that well with how bad that prep went. And North Americans this year, it was just a hard day, man. I mean, after prejudging, I mean, Jake was there. I'm sure Jake told you about it, and emotional roller coaster of a day. But to be honest, I got over it. And the very next day, I went back to work, working towards it again for next year. So
now, what is your like, essentially, like, it's showtime on this day. What is the next, like, you say that you went back to work the next day, but like, when do you fully start focusing on working for the next show? Like, what is the distance between A and B between you switching off to the next one?
I prepped for a contest for 16 weeks. And that's usually the longest I'll prep for. Doesn't take me too long to get in shape. But yeah, I've always done 16-week preps. There's one time I did a 12-week prep, but I usually just do a 16-week prep. So it's a 4-month process.
Now, is there any changes between that 16 weeks and the standard, like your standard everyday workouts?
No, my workouts are the same year round. Whether I'm 2 weeks out from a show or like deep into my off season, I don't ever change the workouts at all. If anything, towards the end, I may not push as close till failure. Of course, not the last week, but maybe the second to last week, just as a risk of injury. I mean, I'm probably not going to be growing any muscle like 10 days out from a show, eating like no food. So it's more about just getting in and stimulating the muscle and getting out. But I've been doing the same exercises, man, since I was 15 when I started. I always done the basics, and it's always stayed the same.
Now, you mentioned earlier symmetric. You're like symmetrical. Sorry about that. You're symmetrical, and in the way you build your body up. So how do you qualify that? Like, how do you know that you're symmetrical? Are you staring at this? Are you looking at this kind of stuff throughout your whole workout project, or?
No, it was kind of just by like, it just kind of happened that way. I didn't have any body parts that like were super overpowering. Like I didn't have like ginormous legs and no upper body, or vice versa. Like everything grew at the same rate. If I had one lagging thing, it is my arms. And to be honest, I think it was just lack of training them early in my career, because I didn't really enjoy doing fucking bicep curls and stuff. It wasn't too appealing to me, but everything grew at the same rate. I mean, my legs grew, my back grew, shoulders, chest, it all grew in at the same rate, and that led to me being proportional. So like when I stand on stage, the whole physique just flows. Like everything looks right. If you look at like the current Mr. Olympia, who I'm not a fan of, he's got like ginormous legs, and it's unproportional to his upper body. There's no flow to the physique. It just looks strange, not right. And bodybuilding is judged on size, conditioning, symmetry, and proportion. I mean, you got to have all 4 of those things. So that's what I just try to focus on. But I haven't switched my workouts like to target one thing more than another. No, everything just kind of grew at the same rate, man. So
I'm going to get into the harder questions, and that's just how this podcast kind of goes. But I mean, this is just designed for, 2 guys sitting on a couch. That's the whole purpose of the background, everything like that. But so, I want people to be as knowledgeable as possible coming out of this, because if tomorrow they decide I'm changing my life and they want to go into bodybuilding themselves, right? They want to have all the facts. So Essentially, what is your supplement life like? And why do you take certain things and why do you not take them? And how often do you take those supplements and stuff?
Yeah, this is like a huge topic in bodybuilding, and I used to not talk about it, but I see so much terrible misinformation being spread. So I don't mind talking about it anymore because,
Okay.
I just want people to, if they're going to do it, to be smart about it.
Be safe.
Yeah, to be safe. I mean, there's so much poor information that is out there. There's a lot of misconceptions. Um, do bodybuilders use performance enhancing drugs? Absolutely. At the top level, they all do, man. At the amateur level, at the national level, the women do, the guys do, the bikini class women do. I didn't know that till recently. I thought all bikini girls were natural, but no, they're not. It's a physique sport. We're criticized on how the body looks, so we go to extreme measures to make the body look the way it should. I want to say I started when I was 18, headed into my first national show, which was the Teenage Nationals. And at the time of 18, I don't have a lot of money. These supplements, performance enhancing drugs, they're not expensive, but I could afford the bare minimum to get by in a contest prep. I will say I've been doing this for just over almost 10 years now. I've been bodybuilding. I've taken a lot and I've taken a little, and more is not better. There's really no difference. There's a glass ceiling on all of this, but no, I mean, it's part of the game. There's risks involved. I think people are naive to think it's not happening in professional sports, other professional sports than bodybuilding. It's clearly bodybuilding because we're looking at the body, the physique.
Right.
I mean, I'm 5'5". I've been 260, 265. No one is that size naturally.
I mean, in all honesty, I've never witnessed a gorilla in real life that can speak the way you do. So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty hilarious to me. When I first met you, I was like, all right, yeah, that guy's on gear. We just you know it, but
Right.
there's people out there that will sit there and state, I'm not on gear. I swear to God, I'm not on, and they might not be, but there is people who are out there. You have to understand that they may be on gear, and there's people who are misusing it and people who are using it properly. When you state using it properly, for instance, what would you say is using it properly compared to misusing it, I should say?
I always say this, because I look at it like this for myself. If I was not competing at the level that I compete at and trying to be a professional at this, no business touching that stuff. If I'm just a regular gym goer, you can achieve what you want gym physique wise naturally. I think people are just impatient. If you're going all in, competing at a high national level, trying to do this at a very high level, it is almost a requirement, unfortunately. But as far as it's more of just being responsible with your health. A lot of people neglect that. I get blood work done 3 to 4 times a year. I see a cardiologist once a year. Not that I have issues, but I just want to make sure I'm okay, I'm healthy, because there are side effects to these drugs. A lot of these steroids are used in the medical field. People don't realize that, but not at the dosages that physique enhanced athletes are using. So I don't even know how to classify a safe way to do it, because
it's a gray line.
Safe?
Yeah.
Unless you're prescribed it, which there's hundreds of thousands of people prescribed testosterone, growth hormone through clinics and stuff like that. If you have a deficiency, then yeah, that would be the proper way to use it. My greatest advice would be to hire a experienced coach, someone with a good reputation, because nowadays everyone's a coach, man. You win one show and then like you just turn into an Instagram bodybuilding coach, which is scary because we're messing with a lot of people's health. But no, I would just get guidance from someone who's been doing this for a while. There's no safe dosages besides a prescription dose or no dose at all. I'll say that.
100%. And I completely understand. And for those people out there who are using it, please, be safe with it. And, I know I'm sounding like someone's parent right now, but please, please, please take your needles, dispose of them properly. There's enough crap in this world that we can die from that we don't need to be having that out there either.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't do that, you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. I mean, you could buy a box of syringes on Amazon for $10. So
that proves my point right there.
You gotta be at least a little responsible. I mean, Jesus.
So besides that stuff, though, what other supplements are you taking to additionally and help your career?
I like to say not just over-the-counter supplements, but also performance-enhancing supplements. They're not miracles, man. They're not miracles. You can take all the drugs you want in the world. If you don't eat, sleep, breathe this lifestyle, man, they're not going to do anything for you. And the same goes with over-the-counter supplements. Are there over-the-counter supplements that work? Absolutely. The supplement industry is like $1 billion industry, and a lot of it is based on bad ads and showing
and how much sugar they can put into these products. Like, you have so many different flavors out there. It's ridiculous.
You'll see like supplement companies post a picture of like someone my size using their products, and that's why they look like that. It's very unfortunate that that's the way the supplement companies make money. But as far as supplements that I've used in my 10 years of doing this that legitimately work and make a difference, I view over-the-counter supplements as something that's going to enhance my workout and enhance my recovery. Because everything for me comes from the diet. Diet is number one, over drugs, over the workout, over the cardio. If your nutrition is not on point, then it's not going to happen. As far as supplements I personally use to help with recovery and workout performance, I don't use pre-workouts. I'm very caffeine sensitive. So for me to consume a large amount of caffeine before a workout is counterproductive. For some people, it is productive. For me, not a good idea. I'm sponsored by Get Raw Nutrition, and they provide me with my supplements. I've been using those for a couple years now, since they became a company, actually. I use carbohydrate powder during my workout. So I get about 25 grams of carbohydrates to fuel my muscles while I'm working out. With that, I will consume creatine monohydrate, which has been the most studied supplement back to the 60s. It actually works. It's cheap. Is it a miracle? No. If it helps with my recovery 1%, then I'm all about it. Like, need to recover so I can get back in the gym, grow more muscle, do it again.
I do have to say, I think the funniest thing was growing up, and I remember, being in high school and kids were taking creatine, and I talked to, I think I talked to my dad or somebody about it, and I'm like, yeah, they're taking creatine. I don't know what it is. Oh, don't take that. It's really bad. It just puts water in your muscles. That's all it does. It's not even worth a thing. And now, being the fact that I've taken like the personal training courses and learning all this stuff, you need creatine in your diet. Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
You do not get food, like your food does not produce enough creatine for you to actually have, and you need it to stay healthy. So
yeah,
please, people just listen to some of these professionals when they say like they're taking creatine. There's a reason for it.
Yeah. Just like five grams of creatine in my, and it doesn't matter when you take it. Like, I start drinking it before my workout and finish it during. As long as it's around the workout time, just because you got blood going to the muscles, I want to deliver those nutrients to the muscle while I'm lifting. And then my third ingredient along with this is essential amino acids, not branched chain amino acids. I mean, I can get into the science, all that, but I don't really need to. The essential amino acids is what you want. It's essentially protein. synthesized down to help with recovery, build muscle, prevent protein muscle breakdown. Um, those three things, I take those together, and that's my supplement stack. Now, as far as like vitamins and stuff like that, that's a whole different topic that we can get into. But that is literally the over-counter supplements I use.
Now, I'm fully with you on the essentials, and the reason why, for those out there, best way to divide or to say it in a simplified way, you get BCAAs from the food you eat. You do not get EAAs from the food you eat. So essentially, you're filling in those branches that you are missing. I prefer the EAAs over the BCAAs half the time because of the fact that I feel relaxed and more recovered afterwards. I don't feel like crap. And I'm right there with you on the pre-workout as well. Caffeine and the tingling feeling messes with my head too. I can't stand that from the beta alanine.
Like with essential, in order to grow, this will be so simple. I'll put it this way. In order to grow muscle tissue, all 9 essential amino acids have to be present in the body. Branch chain amino acids are only 3 of the 9. So it's a supplement that can't produce muscle growth. So it really is just a waste. So unless you're eating like a chicken breast while you're lifting, which is a terrible idea, that is a great alternative, the essential amino acids. So that is the one product where I felt a physical difference in my body when I did not use it. I went like a week without taking it, way more sore. Absolutely, my body was way more sore. Incorporated it back in, soreness a lot less.
Now, if people were, essentially they want to get started bodybuilding, and there's all people really know is they see these women who either look really like they look like the model types, and then you got the women that are very, I don't want to say masculine looking, but they're toned out, right? They're really more buff, and then they see the same thing with guys and stuff like that. So can you essentially explain to people what the difference in bodybuilding is when it comes to the different areas?
There's so many different classes now, which is one thing I'm like not really a fan of, to be honest. I like bodybuilding when it was just male bodybuilding and female bodybuilding, very niche, cult-like sport. And in order for the federation to grow and make more money, they created more divisions so more people could compete, which made this sport a lot bigger, which in a lot of eyes isn't a bad thing. I'm not a huge fan of all the classes, but there are 3 men's classes. You got men's physique, which is, I just say, a beach body look. They don't show off their legs, shredded abs, big shoulders, big chest, very achievable look. Naturally, of course, a lot of people can obtain that beach body look with very strict dieting and hard training for years. Next is the men's classic physique, which is kind of, I just say it's smaller bodybuilders, man. I mean, it is what it is. They're smaller bodybuilders. The only time I can tell a difference is like at the upper pro level. They have like an old 70s, 80s bodybuilder look. But dude, at the state level, at the national level, these guys are just smaller bodybuilders. It is what it is. And then, of course, there's most important, the pinnacle of the sport is male open bodybuilding, which is people come to see the freaks. So that's the bodybuilders. I mean, it's true. Like I always say, you go to the circus to see the bearded lady. I mean, that's right. What men's bodybuilding is. They want to see a 5'5" midget walk out on stage at 230 pounds shredded, because you're not going to see that anywhere else.
I mean, there's plenty of people out there that'll sit there and be like, oh my God, that's so gross. Why do you look like that? And it's like, well, essentially, if you took all your skin off, that's what you're going to look like anyway. Yeah. So
you're a human anatomy chart for like, you only look like that like one day out of the year.
Yeah.
People are like, man, do you always look that way? No. It is so painful to look like that, dude. Like the kind of mental and physical exhaustion is the worst thing ever. Now with the female, there's so many classes now, man. There's bikini, which literally just like strippers out there, man. It's a women's beach body look. I really don't know much about women's bikini. I don't pay attention to it. They literally just kind of like, it's
Yeah,
like a
it's a
glorified
very,
strip
very
club.
soft look for most people out there.
Yeah,
Like
they don't want like muscle definition or
there's not even toning. It's just
no,
skinny. Yeah.
no, it's dumb. Then we go on to a new class we have, which is the women's wellness. And it's bikini girls with jacked legs
Got
and
it.
big glutes. So we just kind of threw the whole proportion and symmetry thing out the window, which is something that's always been judged on. So it's really just women who don't train their upper body and just train their legs, which I don't know how you enjoy just training one part of your body all the time. And then we get into figure. Now, when figure came on the scene, I want to say around 2010, it was much different than what it is now. Women's figure now is like what women's bodybuilding was like 20 years ago, man. I mean, the girls now in figure they're supposed to be a softer look, a little definition. They train the entire body. But now these girls are like very defined, very shredded, which I guess the class is evolving in that aspect, but they're not supposed to look like that. We have women's physique, which is literally women's bodybuilding. And then we have women's bodybuilding, which has come back on the scene because it's been out of this scene for a while. But the man that just purchased the Mr. Olympia competition, he runs all the women's pro bodybuilding shows. So he's brought it back, which I think is great. They're freaks. They're huge.
Now, what is your fiance participate in?
She's figure. She competes in figure. So
Okay.
It's kind of a shame what figures turned into because it's just becoming what the women need to do to look like that is not something these women are really willing to do anymore unless they truly don't give a shit about their femininity anymore.
Yeah. Now, if people want to take that next step in becoming, to try to get into one of these, regardless of what it is, if you want to go into, the bikini look, whatever, that's fine. But what is the next step, or what would be your best recommendation for people to take that next step?
It really takes time. Like you need to work out for a while and see what your body looks like in order to decide like what class you want to do. I mean, I wanted to be a men's physique looking dude, and I achieved that in like 4 months. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not just going to maintain this. Like I want to grow and continue to improve. Because this whole entire sport hobby has all been about self-improvement for me. I'm constantly getting better. So it takes time. You need to build your body, build your physique, analyze what you look like, look at the criteria of the classes. The National Physique Committee prints out criteria of what it's judged on. Hire someone that knows what they're doing, reputable coaches, and go from there. You may want to, as a woman, you may want to do figure, but you really should be doing bikini until you build a figure-sized physique. You just have to build your body.
This is going to be the hard one because it's essentially it's the gray area, right? You can't. I'll be honest. Like I'm not going to sit there and tell somebody how to bodybuild because that's not the style I've learned. I can help somebody lose some weight at the gym, and that's about it. Even though I have to cut it myself, maybe we'll do the journey together. But how do you know if somebody is like reputable? Like if they're like if it's a good person to actually follow or not? What would be some recommendations for that?
So the bodybuilding industry is very small, man. Word spreads fast. If one coach does something that is not, you hear about it, man. It spreads quickly, especially with social medias nowadays. But I also look at like their client history, look at the clients that they're producing. My coach, Matt Jansen, we've been working together for over 2 years now. Coaches former 212 Olympia, has guys in the Mr. Olympia, but he treats the people at the Olympia the same way he treats his national level guys and his state level guys. They get his full attention. and they show up looking great every single time. I mean, this past year was a great example of that. So his work speaks for himself. He doesn't have to promote his coaching. His clients speak for the work he's putting out there. That speaks volumes. So it's almost like you just kind of know when you're around the industry long enough who's good and who's not. You'll hear things, but most of all, you'll see the work that gets put out there. Cheaper is not better. I will say, don't hire anyone that like just did a show for their first time and now they're coaching people. Look for people who have degrees in exercise science and nutrition, and not that that's like the end all be all, but that's a credential that's helpful, man. I mean, I know everything I know, and I'm able to help clients because I researched, I read studies, I read textbooks. I did that in my free time because I was bored and I just wanted to know more about nutrition and working out. But there's a lot of people nowadays that you do want to avoid coaching you.
Now, I brought up earlier a guy I got to talk to who was former Mr. Universe, former Mr. Olympia, all sorts of stuff. His name was Nordine Zurich. I read his book, Inner Fitness, which was fantastic. Went over some of that stuff. Is there definitely a mindset that you need to keep when starting out compared to what an everyday person might have?
It's a very structured lifestyle. It also depends on what level you're looking to compete at. I mean, the last 4 years of my life, I didn't work a job. I online coached and I dedicated my life to bodybuilding. And I didn't do anything fun outside of that. I didn't really have a life, man. But that's what it takes to be the best at anything. I always hear stories about you hear stories about like Kobe Bryant practicing at like 4 a.m. before everyone else. He didn't have to do those things, but like those are the things that are required to be great. So it depends on what level you want to do this. If you want to take this to a national and professional level, you have to treat it like that. And it consumes your whole lifestyle. I mean, it consumes everything, man. I mean, your day revolves around when you're going to eat next and what time you're going to the gym. And it's not very normal. It's not normal at all, man. It is not normal at all. I very much look forward to the day where I am done bodybuilding and can like not have to carry food with me everywhere or live freely, I guess. Not that I hate bodybuilding, but it's very restrictive lifestyle. I mean, you prep for a show for 16 weeks. Like, you don't go out to eat for 16 weeks. You don't go out on the weekend to have fun. Like, I mean, when I prep for a show, I don't do anything besides prep for the show and work.
I mean, it's funny because when I first saw that you're now starting to be a realtor, I kind of pictured that in a little bit. Like, here's Dom showing a house off and being like, hold on a minute, I have to heat up my chicken while you guys are checking out the bathrooms upstairs and stuff. Like, it just made me chuckle a little bit, being the fact that I know you and how much food you carry with you at all times and stuff just for prep. But as we wrap up here, I do want to go into, saying, I appreciate all the information today that you have given us, in that, we're wishing you the best of luck on your future endeavors. I mean, you're killing the game right now, and the pro card's coming, and we all know it. It's not a sense of whether or not you're going to. It's when you're going to.
Yeah, it's just a matter of when, man.
Yeah.
Really
So, for those out there who are interested in maybe getting some coaching from you or learning more about this kind of situation, where can they find you at?
The best place is just going to be Instagram, and it's Dom_Triveline, my last name. I don't really promote my coaching or post about training a whole lot anymore. But you can contact me on there for any kinds of needs like that. 100%.
Okay. Awesome. And those out there, I will have the links as always. And for those who have listened to the end, I do appreciate it. And We will, as always, we're trying to bring you the best content possible without bringing you something boring that you've listened to 100 times that Spotify may or may not shut you down for because you might be talking about a certain product. We're not those type of people. We're here to give you guys what you want, and we appreciate it. So those listening, thank you again, and we're out.
You have just listened to the Shoots and Blabber podcast. If you're enjoying the episode, please go back and listen to some of our old episodes. Also, drop us a rating, like our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/dreamy_Kong.